Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Top Hat Chat, and this day on this channel we are going to be producing a video.
Yes, we're actually producing a video. How crazy is that?
I know, ridiculous. And this specific video that we are producing is going to be, is retro gaming dying?
Yes, that's quite a good name, but I think probably, does retro gaming have cancer? Have a better ring to it?
No!
Why? That's way more clickbaity, surely.
Oh,
No?
no.
Okay. With
No,
this retro
we're
gaming dying.
steering away from cancer.
Okay, yeah.
This is how we're going to be doing things.
No one likes cancer.
No.
No.
So nobody will like this video, which they probably won't anyway.
Cancer, diabetes, AIDS, we hate them all.
Yeah. Anyway, retro gaming is it on its last legs, I suppose? This is the discussion that we're going to be trying to have.
Yes, whilst I don't think the act in itself of gaming retrospectively is dying, I do, on the other hand, feel at the moment that procuring old games as physical media is massively on the downturn.
What on earth makes you think this, other than the fact that I know for a fact that you have not really bought any games recently?
Well, that's just it. I've slowed down buying retro games, and I believe...
And that has crashed the industry.
Yes, exactly. Who was buying all these games?
It's just you.
It was just me. Exactly.
Yeah, so other than the fact that you have stopped buying so many games, for no reason other than the fact that... Why, actually?
Well,
I'm curious. Why? Why
I
have you
like to
stopped buying
believe
games?
I wasn't one of the earliest adopters of retro gaming, but I was an early adopter, to say the least.
Okay.
I started procuring this collection retrospectively around 2002. So basically buying games on older platforms,
Okay.
Rather than whatever was current gen
Yeah.
at the time. And the reason I did that, the same as so many did at the time, apart from it was giving you a refreshing change from what was coming out at the time, because most PS2 games were very depressing, I would tell you that. But apart from that, it was just a cheap hobby, something really cheap that anyone could get into.
Yeah, I suppose that
So
makes
if
a lot of
you
sense.
go down to the local boot sale, pick up a game for 50p, fantastic! Do you know what I mean? Happy days.
If you only get 20 minutes enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, you come back with a
50p
whole
is good.
sack of games as well, and it would be the mystery factor as well, like getting to put all these cartridges in and seeing what the games actually played like, because I hadn't done as much research back then as I have now, for example.
Yeah.
So even like NES, Master System, Mega Drive games, I would buy the games, and I wasn't really aware of what the games were I was buying half the time.
So why is it dying? Like, why have you stopped buying now?
Personally, the biggest reason as to why I've stopped buying games is the astronomical prices in which sellers are trying to sell their wares for. And I know people always say it's all about supply and demand, but I feel at this stage people are more likely to be trying to sell a game at a high price because that's what they was used to selling it at. So the games are now just going to be left there sitting at a high price.
Yeah, I think eBay's got a lot to say about this as well, because like only one person has to artificially inflate the price of their game.
And then
A little bit.
then all the sellers want that price.
And then all of them want to do the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, somebody managed to sell it for
yeah,
60
so
quid.
I'm going to just sit here and wait and do it as
Yeah.
well.
And then somebody else will artificially inflate it again once a few of the 60s have sold, and then it's worth 75.
So I think that most people now, or most experienced collectors like myself, who was the big spenders,
Yeah.
we're not falling for it. We're not that stupid. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and that it's a shame. It's a shame that's happening. Also, you have the likes of CX, which are putting prices up considerably for...
Oh, they're doing the same
Everything.
thing. They use the same excuse as all these sellers. Market forces,
No.
and then they just sit in their windows and no one ever buys them.
Yeah.
Like, I seriously doubt that my local CX sells retro games at all. Well, they have them on their shelves, but I doubt any of them will ever move anymore because I've stopped using the chain, and I believe I was the only person who used to buy them anyway.
Yeah, well, again, Snatcher for 340 quid.
It's laughable.
Shenmue.
It's literally laughable.
I think Shenmue they had recently for like 90.
Yeah, these prices are laughable, and I've been to a few conventions lately as well. And the first one, I only came back with one game, and the second one, I came back with no games because the prices were so insulting that I was not going to part with my money.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It makes the prices are so high that it would make me feel like an idiot to make the purchase. So when you've got to the stage that you're making the buyer feel like a moron if they was to get the product off you, You're not going to sell anything, are you?
Yeah.
And that's going to crash the market. And that's what's happening at the moment. The market is beginning to implode.
It's strange because usually it doesn't work like that. Usually the more places you have to go and buy things, the cheaper things become because it's competitive. And people are like, well, actually, but because it's stuff that is no longer in production, that's not how it seems to work.
The issue is there are now so many sellers,
Yeah.
and they've all got the same games, and they all want the same large figures of money for them. So you'll type the name of a certain game on eBay, and then you'll come up with lists and lists and lists of the same title, but there will be at high buy now prices.
Yeah.
They will only part with that game if someone gives them a large amount of money. So the market's frozen.
Yeah.
They've frozen it.
Which is a shame because, again, there is lots and lots of people that are willing to sell, just not for the right price.
Yeah.
Not
And I
for a
think-
fair price.
I don't know if it comes into it whatsoever, but we're finally at a stage now where emulation, I think, is better than playing on the actual hardware as well. We've got to that stage now, in my opinion. Some people say that's not true, but I believe it is, because if you play on these new devices like the Raspberry Pi or the Super Nintendo
Yeah.
Mini or whatever you want, it has a HDMI
Yeah.
on the back, so you can plug it straight into a modern television and get a great picture from it.
Yeah.
You can't do that with the original hardware, so you're paying extortionate amounts for a far inferior product.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you actually. I mean, yes, there are some emulators that don't work very well on certain systems and stuff like that. So
Like, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
recently
there are some problems, but
I don't really touch my Mega Drive games or Super Nintendo or NES or Master System at the moment because I just Raspberry Pi them instead because I will get a better quality experience from it.
yeah.
I
And now
will
with-
genuinely
yeah.
get a better quality
Yeah.
experience.
I can really understand that. I mean, there are some emulators that don't work in certain things, and some are a little bit glitchy and don't work 100%. But for the majority of what
Not
you
with
said,
those older games, really.
not for the really old
No,
ones, but
well-
some of the slightly newer ones don't work 100%.
Yeah, newer games. Yeah, but then the newer games aren't as ridiculously priced.
Yeah.
Generally.
Generally. But you know, there are some bugs. But again, as a general experience, emulation is definitely the way to go. And we always go on about emulation here. It's like, why would collectors want you to?
I think
Love
another thing
emulation.
that's happened as well is the fact that, like, we've got the NES for Super Nintendo. That generation of people, the games all went up in price so much because that generation began to have disposable income and they could spend it on whatever they wanted. That generation now has got older and most of them have families,
Kids,
they have children.
houses, mortgages.
Yeah, they're not going to be spending their money on games, are they? So everyone holding on to these Super Nintendo and NES games, there's no one to buy them anymore.
Even
because-
you're scaling back.
Yeah,
for the
I'm
same
not trying to
reasons.
find myself. Yeah.
Yeah, for the same reasons.
So yeah, I suppose going forward, the games that are going to be worth anything long term, well not long term, but the short term boom going forward is going to be GameCube games, because that's the generation of people who are coming into getting disposable income who've not got children yet.
Yeah. Hopefully, Metal Jesus doesn't watch this.
Yeah, oh, well, so so you can put up all the prices of GameCube games.
Yeah, because then he'll just do the same video.
Okay. Well, so you've put me off a little bit now because you're talking
Just because
about.
I said Metal Jesus.
No, it was so off the subject. I've
Good.
got this hairy man with sandals in my head now.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, yes. But anyway, we've gone over many points about why retro gaming is dying, in my opinion. However, I am sure there's going to be people disagreeing with us in the comments section. Because everyone says, oh, the prices have gone up. If the prices are going up, people must want them more than ever.
To be fair, like, just a point before we close this out, because I have a feeling this is coming towards an end.
We're
now.
getting near the end, but I've got a few points I still want to make.
Okay, so I'll make another one while I can. Before you seem to go off on one. Do your thing and I'll just have a nap. If it's got to a point now where it is dying, can it only go one way?
It will only go one way, but I think it's going to take a long time to go one way. People are just going to hold. This is what I'm saying, because I've been on the Facebook groups, the buying and selling groups, and I've been seeing the sellers' attitudes as to what's going on at the moment. I read a big long thread about it, and the sellers were saying the best way for us to be selling games going forward is to simply be holding on to them, not dropping any of the prices, and try to sell them at a high price at the right time. Like, say for example, they release a new Mario game, then try and sell Mario and stuff like that. That's their attitude. That's what they're trying to do at the moment to recoup.
What
back
they're
their
what they're all
losses.
getting together. Every single person that sells games is getting together and going, "This is what we're going to do."
Well, to a degree, yes, because most of them are on big selling groups, so they're going to have discussions about buying and selling. It's just what I've seen.
Scum.
So, yes, that's their plan. At the moment. That's the general seller plan at the
Yeah,
moment.
and it's not
Is
gonna
hold
work.
on to stuff and sell it when it's relevant.
And I suppose the buying plan is going to be keep an eye out for stuff, and if there's a new Mario game coming out and you catch wind of it first, try and buy a Mario game.
Yeah. And another thing actually, which I forgot to mention, is YouTube itself. Like, people have always blamed YouTube as one of the reasons for inflating the price of retro games, and I believe that's why they're about to fall as well, due to the algorithm changes.
Yeah, there's been massive algorithm changes with YouTube itself, and it's going much more towards basically topical content and
fake news.
Yeah. So if we release a video on the about the Nintendo Switch, or a new Nintendo Switch game, for example,
you'll notice we'll get more views. Generally.
We'll get more views because that will start going into other people's Switch videos.
Yeah.
And that'll get promoted more, and it'll get more and more promoted, and then they'll all bounce off back and forwards off.
So the modern system's basically based on suggested content. Yeah. So the content which YouTube will push is whatever's most relevant at the time. So you say, for example, they release a new game, you watch that video on that new game, YouTube would then suggest you other videos on that new game. So if you make videos about something retro gaming related, because it's not current and it's not relevant, it's not going to get much exposure on YouTube.
Which is ridiculous. It should be about varied content.
Like, you can see, for example, by watching my own channel, although I've had growth and I produce great content, but then so myself.
To be fair, it is good, and I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your
You
arse.
will see channels which growth is about 4 times that of mine, because all of their content is current affairs and news related.
There was a few of you that all started up roughly the same time.
Same sort of time.
You didn't know each other, and then you got to know each other kind of through this. And you're one of the smaller channels out of this small group of about 4 or 5. But you've only done the same thing. Like,
well, more than 4 or 5, I'd say a lot of YouTubers, but basically
all within the same kind of 4 months, you all started channels.
Yeah, but it's not 4 or 5 when I look more than 4 or 5. But you can see, like, the
There's
growth.
A specific 4 or 5.
Yeah, basically the news-related channels. That's where you've had exponential growth.
And the documentary style channels, which is more what you do, seems to be not basically stagnant, but
I think if you make a good news-related channel, it will grow and grow and grow. If you make a good documentary style channel, you will do well, but it won't do it exponentially. If you just cover whatever you like because you're stubborn and you just feel like, if I make good content, they just come anyway, then you won't get subscribers at all. You see a lot of people doing it.
So where does this channel sit?
I don't know how this channel's going to do. It's just a little bit of a laugh, really. So you assume it's going to flop. But at the same time, we do try and do a lot of current affairs, so maybe it's got some chance of getting some steam.
Yeah.
Maybe we will just have to sell out completely eventually and just do loads of news discussions.
Yeah, maybe once a week.
Yeah, we'll see. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comment section if you too believe that retro gaming, in a physical sense at least, is dying. Has it got cancer? Let us know in the comment section. Is that appropriate?
You slid it in again. I'm not re-recording it.
Okay. Cheerio!
I'd like to give a shout out to Michael Keneally as well as all of our other patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It helps us keep this channel going. And if anybody else would like to donate to this channel, we have a link in our description.